In the mid to late 90s, the newly founded DreamWorks Studios sought to purchase the rights to an idea that began as a picture book. Little did they know it, would it not only change the future of the studio, but the entire genre of animated films as we know it. Today's tale takes us to a swamp where an ogre's solitude is quickly lost and is taken over by fairy tale creatures due to being banished by Lord Farquaad. In order to get his land back, the ogre cuts a deal with Farquaad and given the task of rescuing the soon to be bride of Lord Farquaad, Princess Fiona. Today, we go to the highest room of the tallest tower as we do a discussion of sorts on the DreamWorks classic Shrek. This is a Comic Talkers production, and you were listening to a I Like That Bolda. That's a nice Bolda edition of Just for Flicks. What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Patty B. With me, as always, is my noble steed, Mr. B Dog, Mr. Brandon. What's going on, man? You hear that? He called me a noble steed.
F you.
That's a nice ass.
That's a nice boulder.
This is nice folder. I'm
Oh,
doing good.
That's a noble ass.
If you don't know who that voice is, he is my co-host on not only Anime Talkers, but he's also the co-host with me on DCAU Talkers that comes out every Friday. Please welcome back to the podcast, Ty. Ty, how are you doing?
I'm cool.
I'm cool.
I'm cool.
Ooh,
I'm cool.
I'm
cooler
good.
than the other side of the pillow.
Oh yeah.
Now, fans, you're probably wondering, why are we talking about Shrek and Oscars month, right? Well, you gotta remember, Shrek holds the honor of being the first winner of the inaugural Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. That award was never even thought of until 2001 when Shrek won it, which is surprising to me still to this day.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, when you really think about it, you had movies like Toy Story. You know, Ty and I have talked about movies in the past too on the anime side, like Akira and all them, that really could have been nominated and won probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I had also a feeling Disney would rule the 90s at that point.
Oh, yeah.
But Shrek, let's talk about that quick. What's your guys' take on Shrek being the first ever Academy Award winner for Best Animated Feature?
It stands alone, right? When you hear Shrek, that name is synonymous, right? Now you got to think of the stuff that has come after that, right? Like they created a play after it. They have how many video games after Shrek?
A
But
bunch of sequels and spin-offs.
I was just gonna say, like, there's just so many things they built off of this one movie and kept it going. So I think that alone, I mean, speaks volumes. And it for it being the first one, yeah, it makes sense, dude. When you see the advancement of everything, the graphics, the story alone, I think the way they blended in the fairy tale creatures, all the little stories you hear as a kid, all that kind of stuff, like the three blind mice and the wolf, the big bad wolf, all that kind of stuff. The way they intertwine things like that is awesome. I mean, I know we're gonna get into it, but I think just this movie alone just stands alone on itself, and I think there's a reason why it's the first one to be nominated. I don't know why. Is there a reason why that year was the year they did it, or
I
like did
think
they go like, oh, Shrek's gonna come out, we're just gonna make this
I
like
think
that's
you got to remember what movies were coming out beforehand, right? You had Toy Story, you had Toy Story 2, you had movies that revolutionized the movie industry to the point where it's like, why don't they have a role? Because really, there's only been a couple movies that have been animated that have been nominated for Best Picture.
Mhm.
I think Toy Story was one. I believe Snow White was another, but only a couple have ever got that honor. And that's why it's really weird to kind of see this as being the first one, because you would think, oh, Disney movie would have had it. And to be totally honest, it actually kind of goes with something else too before we go to Ty. is that not only that, but here's the other honor it has. Shrek is currently ranked number 8 on the American Film Institute's list of the 10 greatest animated films of all time. That is an achievement. And the best thing about it is the only one that is not Disney.
That's insane.
So
So it's the only DreamWorks one, right?
it's the only thing, period, outside.
Outside of Disney.
Mhm.
Yeah, that speaks volumes right there. I mean, that just shows you how dominant Disney was in this period, right? I think this was the first time Disney was, after Shrek coming out, this is the first time where people were like, whoa, wait, maybe Disney isn't the only one on the block.
Right.
You got DreamWorks now, and look what DreamWorks has done even after Shrek. Look at all this. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, that whole
Despicable
franchise.
Me.
Despicable Me. I mean, now it seems like this. Now that Shrek over the years, now I know they're thinking of doing a Shrek in the next few years, but after that franchise kind of dwindled off a little bit, it seems like the Despicable Me or the I'm not, is it Gru, right?
Grew.
Gru. Yeah, I was
Yep.
going to say Gru, but that's a wrong movie. That whole, franchise has become like the staple of DreamWorks currently.
Well, you got to remember too, the fact is here's too, doing 3D animation was still new. Outside Pixar, not a lot of people were doing it.
Mm-mm.
And so this was a huge achievement for DreamWorks to do something like this. Let's go to Ty. Ty, what's your thoughts on this being the first winner of the best animated feature?
I think it's well deserved because it was probably one of those things that changed the game. You know what I mean? They brought in new characters, they rearranged the story, and you're like, oh, all these fairy tales are actually together in the same world. But they added like Donkey, which is still a mystery, where he come from. Shrek, being a new character and having the whole like princess, like she could change to an ogre at night because she's cursed. And then like there's just so many things that they did that change how we see like fairy tales. So like what Pat said, great storyline, great comedy in there. Donkey's probably what helps with the comedy. The things he says, even when it first came out, everybody just started saying waffles, make it waffles.
And
Right?
tomorrow morning, I'm making waffles.
I'm
Yeah.
making waffles. Eddie, you know what I'm saying? He definitely probably my favorite Shrek movie of all time out of the four. There's probably not like a lot of things you can hate about that movie, so it's well deserved. Like it's great, the way they had the music too, Smash,
Smash
R.I.P.
Mouth? Yeah.
They really nailed that intro, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't get boring the more you watch it every time I watch it, it's always like it's good to watch, good to look at, you know what I mean? So they
And I
well
think
deserved.
that's a perfect point to you're saying. I mean, I attest to like it's with the times.
Yeah,
Like it never goes out of style, I guess you'd say, or it keeps up. Like you could watch this movie 20 years from now and you'd still be like, "Oh my God, yeah, it's this amazing movie." It
exactly.
it yeah. Like there's some movies, where it's an older movie and it doesn't age well, and this age is just this is gonna be like fine wine.
Well,
Fine. Wow.
well, to kind of piggyback off Ty there too with Smash Mouth, here's an interesting fact with this, okay? All Star by Smash Mouth, which we all know has become a popular song over the years, and thanks to this movie as well, this helps it, was actually supposed to be a placeholder originally. Hear it out. So it was put in the movie as a placeholder for the test screenings until they found a different song to put in the beginning of the film. But the test screenings actually really enjoyed that scene, and it was a good song to have with it that they actually kept it, and it's what led Smash Mouth to do their next hit for the movie, I'm a Believer. So they loved them so much that they had them on, and we all three know They had two hits, one at the beginning, one at the end,
Yeah.
and two of the songs that really put Smash Mouth on the map. The it's like we talked about in the past too. This being the first one, and then the next year it's Spirited Away. It really shows you the different types of animation that comes out of things. And I've always loved this award because of that reason. It's that you get to see things you don't see. That's how I told Ty in the past, it's how I was introduced to Your Name. I've never even heard of the movie, and I watched it and really enjoyed the film. It's always one of those questions, and I'd love to cover this one day, Pat, with you in Ty. If we could take it back and set it like from 1980 on, all the animated films that came out during those years, who would win? Because I know we've had that conversation, Ty, too, in the past because of movies like Akira and all that. Well, that movie was up there for grabs. But Shrek, to me, going back to the conversation we're doing, Shrek to me is just a very clever way to mix the fairy tales, but to mix adult humor in it too. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's like watching it again when we talked about it, I was kind of dreading it because it's been a long time since I've sat and fully just sat there and watched the first film. I've always watched the second one because I didn't mind the second one. But just sitting there, I was just intrigued because of how much adult humor there is in it without
Mhm.
real and how much like for us as kids, we didn't pay attention to stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nowadays, we're like, yeah, that's pretty funny,
Well,
or
and it's not only adult humor, but even some dark humor also. I
yeah,
mean, some points. I will get into it, but I mean, there's some parts of this movie where it's like, oh wait, it's like a lot of hidden Easter eggs throughout this movie, which
right.
is kind of cool. And I didn't learn them until like later on in life. But it's not something you're gonna pick up as a 6-year-old watching this thing.
So so I think it's time to go into our trivia of the film. So where we talk about our trivia here is all the hidden facts behind the movie, when the movie was released, everything like that. Okay. The movie was released in May 18th, 2001. It stars Mike Myers as Shrek, Eddie Murphy as Donkey, Cameron Diaz as Princess Fiona, and John Lithgow as Lord Farquaad. It was directed by Andrew Adamson and Vicky Jensen. The budget for this film was $60 million estimated. How much you guys think they grossed?
I reckon that
We're out of westerns, buddy. We're not doing a
I
western.
reckon it's probably going to be over 400 million, 400 between 4 and 450, I would say. Right
Okay.
around there.
What do you
Maybe.
think? What do you think, Ty?
Probably about the same. Just to make it. I'm gonna just say 500. You
Okay,
know.
you guys are right there. Ty's probably closer,
All right, cool.
but you're
But
still over. So in Price is Right rules, you still lose. No,
I win though. No, not the closest.
but it's 488 million. Pretty much roughed it up, $489 million. So
Yeah,
it
okay. I lost. Yeah.
pretty much like tripled
A
what,
nice payday right there.
yeah, tripled what they made. So let's talk about some of the background behind this. The main actors of the film actually did not film together.
Really?
They actually had them filmed separately. John Lithgow, who plays Lord Farquaad, did state he loved playing the character, but he was very disappointed that he didn't get to be in the room with the other actors.
That's kind of, yeah. It seems like from an outside perspective, you think as a kid, like, oh yeah, they're all like together working on this movie together. When when it's set up like this and I animated, you don't really know what goes in the ins and outs of that kind of stuff, and
Right.
you don't realize like, oh, that's maybe it's just like a scheduling thing, or maybe that's just how they want to piece it, and then they piece everything together afterwards.
Well, I think part of it is going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. Mike Myers was not the original person that was supposed to play Shrek.
Yep, I
It
knew
was
that.
Chris Farley.
Yep, he even did like a screening for it.
He did actually most of the recordings.
Yeah,
Most of his monologue was already done when he passed. So then that's when
crazy.
they gave it to Mike Myers. Now, Mike Myers was also hesitant in taking the role because he felt like it was a sense of disrespect to Farley because they were friends on Saturday Night Live, so on and so forth. But here's the interesting part of this, okay? This actually introduced a line in the film. The producers, and this is what Myers has stated in the past, came up to him and said, "Can't we settle this over a pint?" He decided to take the role, and that line was inserted into the movie during their wrestling scene, right before their wrestling scene.
Can we settle this over a pint?
No. Okay. So the other thing is actually Eddie Murphy also set records here too, because he was actually nominated for a BAFTA for voiceover, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
Okay. Shrek actually has his own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Shrek does?
Shrek does.
Character Shrek.
Shrek.
I didn't know they did that. They just did that.
I think they did the movie. I don't think it's so much the character. I think it's more the movie.
Got it.
Okay, here's the most interesting part of this. Ready? This is what I found out. I told Pat I had an interesting fact. I'm curious. Did you realize there was actually another actor who was supposed to play Lord Farquaad?
I did not.
You want to take a shot on who was supposed to? It's somebody you know and you love to make fun of. Rest in peace, though, because he did pass away.
I don't know, man. I was gonna say James Woods, but then once you said that little like clue, I'm like, I don't know now. I'm gonna overthink it and not say what I think I should say.
Ron
Who is it?
Weasley.
What?
What's it?
Professor Snape himself, Alan Rickman.
Oh.
Oh yes, of course.
Oh.
I don't know why, but he would probably have been the funniest Lord Farquaad. I want to see who I can marry. He can become king.
Number three, my lord. Yes,
yes, number 3.
Lord. Princess Fiona.
Catch me.
You imagine him. I am king now, motherfucker.
Well, he does got the hair for it in Harry Potter, so.
But that's the thing. He turned down the role so he could play Professor Snape. Which that's a question. Like, I don't know why, but I would love to see him as Lord Farquaad, but I think he made the better decision. Like, Professor Snape is always going to be in his background from here on out. You know, that is his role, other than Hans Gruber from Die Hard.
He was too busy doing Galaxy Quest at this time.
God, why you even have to bring that movie up, man?
That's a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he ain't gonna win an Oscar. Come on now, what are we talking here? Not every movie can win an Oscar.
But
there's a reason.
Some
movies need to be bad. No, seriously though, some movies need to be bad. That's just the way the world works, man. Can't have nothing but good movies. We gotta have bad movies.
Yeah,
we can make fun of them, and then we can learn. We can also learn from them. So, I'll drink to that.
Sure. Now, there was an improvised scene in this movie. There was quite a few, but this is kind of the odd one I found. The scene where Fiona burps. Okay. That was added in after Cameron Diaz on set accidentally burped after drinking a soda.
And then they were it's funny.
Now, the line after that burp with Eddie Murphy, where he says she's as nasty as you are.
Yeah.
That was also improvised during that whole scene. I think that's the best part of it, is that Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy really can improvise on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
They're comedians. They've been on Saturday Night Live, where sometimes you have to do stuff like that. And it's really good how they do it. And they're just a really good duo, period. You know, Cameron Diaz fits in with them, and you don't hear me say that very often, that Cameron Diaz really fits in. And she does in this film. I'm curious to see what you guys think about this. Prior to the release, DreamWorks lawyers viewed the movie. The reason being is because they had concerns that the House of Mouse themselves, Disney, would sue them. for the satirical references.
Oh,
What kind of references were they apply or were they?
So, like, okay, so for example, when Fiona sings, right?
Huh?
That's supposed to make fun of like Snow White singing to the animals,
uh,
the Cinderella, like the Snow White one when they're talking about the seven George, like she lives with seven men, but she's not that
I-
easy,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Or when they take over his swamp, he's like, "Dead broad off the
The
table."
table,
Like,
exactly.
where are we supposed to put her?
Exactly. That's why I said when you really get the references, a lot of people were scared about those references. This movie took 4.5 years to make. Originally, Steven Spielberg was the one that was supposed to direct it.
Yeah.
But then it was supposed to be a whole new cast, and then they ended up going the route they did.
thank
Here's a
God.
fun fact. I know I'm going to get tied to laugh at this one. Ready? The effect. Okay, so we all know, like when it comes to the effects team, especially for Pixar, they try to get close up and try to do things that they can see how a character would do something, right?
Yeah.
DreamWorks decided to take mud showers to study how to realistically portray the mud in the film.
Wait. What?
So they actually took mud showers
Okay.
to really realistically find a way to like realistically animate the mud where it just didn't look like it was a plot.
I gotcha.
It was really I was like, I hate it.
What a interesting thing to worry about. They're like, okay, here. Yeah, everything's wrapping up with acting and all that stuff. Yeah, they're doing really great. Yeah, I'm having an issue with this mud on Shrek's back. It just doesn't look right. It's not fluid enough. Uh,
Mm. Oh,
so Jim volunteered to go outside and we're gonna dump a bunch of mud on him and we're gonna see how it settles. And we're gonna
It
figure
worked for
that
Bugs
out.
Life, taking a camera down to the bugs. We're gonna do the
Dude,
same thing here.
fucking, fucking priorities, bro.
Here's another thing that was supposed to be the cast. Robin Williams was originally slated for a role, but he refused due to the working with the producer Jeffrey Katzenberg. Why? It's because of his time on Aladdin.
He didn't like working with the dude.
He had a fallout with him on Aladdin. And so he refused to work with him. And at that time, he was one of the heads of Disney animation at that time. He
Gotcha.
refused to work with him, period. But yeah, that's kind of the trivia behind it. So let's kind of go over the goods and the bads, and then we have our trivia session here. So Ty as the guest here, what did you love about the film? What are some aspects or scenes that you really enjoyed in the film?
the wrestling was pretty fun to watch. You know what I mean?
That's what I was gonna say.
He was throwing people suplex. As a wrestling guy, just watching it, like, yeah, they're like the crowd. They're like,
Or like the
they're
crowd's
like
like the lady says, "Get the chairs." I'm like, "Oh, they're doing the Dudleys. Get the
the
chairs."
crowd turns on them. Like, yeah, I like this. Yeah, I wish there was like some more cool thing he could have done.
Mhm.
Like maybe a top rope, but because he's so big and heavy, imagine just seeing.
Well, he did. Remember, he jumped on the one. He jumped on the one guard, I'm
Yeah, I guess he did, huh? Yeah.
yeah, like
But
he
yeah, like it. Yeah.
rolled out and just hit the guard and just flattened him on the ground.
Yeah.
Dude, I was gonna
I
say
mean,
it's like some of those moves, like it seems so violent. He's literally crushing these men to death. Like it's
like
not.
half of them are wearing armor, so who cares?
And the
I
last
know,
guy was
right?
so hesitant to go up to him. He's like, "What are you gonna do?"
Come on, they're wearing armors. Like, there's a lot of great moments in that movie, but I don't think I hate anything about it. I think everything was is good as it's supposed to be. Like when Robin Hood showed up, they turned on him and beat him up. That was great. Instead of like he came to rescue, and then they're like, nah,
I love that
I
whole
want
reference in
him.
that film when he's talking. He's like, well, he's pretty much saying he likes to get, and it's supposed to be laid, and he's like, paid. That was that was such a great
Uh,
man. Or where the accordion player gets punched in the face.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Ty, what else did you like about, like, what are some other scenes that you enjoyed about the film?
Maybe when like Shrek, he assumed that they were talking about him, right?
Mhm.
Then like you just see Donkey and the dragon together, it's just like, oh, he actually came back for the dragon. And the dragon just like, like all set.
Dude, if this were real life, they would have a hell of an OnlyFans.
Oh, only dragons
Only dragons, there you go.
or only ass.
Well,
Only
I think it's so weird how they do it in the movies because they do show that they have kids, and it's like one of the, it's like half dragon, half donkey.
Can't wait to see the fifth one to see what they look like, huh? After all grown up.
You have the Game of Thrones scenes.
Oh no, it's the queen ass.
Welcome to
Uh,
the House of Dragons.
let's see, I don't know. There's a lot of good moments, but like there are just like little things. I can't really think of like any other good ones besides like the wrestling, the when they beat up the Robin Hoods, um, because everything is just like a little montage when they're just like walking back, which is pretty nice. The music for it was really good for it. That's when you talked about the burping. That was pretty good. Yeah. Like I said, I don't think there's anything bad about that movie. It's just that one movie you cannot hate.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's a good movie to watch. Like I said, it's been a long time, and I've realized, like, watching it recently for this, it was like, yeah, I realized how much I actually did enjoy the film. But what about you, Pat? What are some moments that you enjoyed within the film?
one of the big things I like, and Ty mentioned it, I do like the wrestling scene for obvious reasons. But just that whole sequence when he shows up to the castle and they play the whole do lock.
Oh yeah, that one too. It's like wash your face.
Face. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, or I love when he goes up to the mascot guy and he scares him, and then the mascot guy's running away, but he's going inside the roped in lane. And then, oh, I just always thought that was so fucking funny. Um, but another big scene too, like big sequence of the movie that I enjoy is when they're rescuing Fiona, like them going into the castle, into the volcano. I'm gonna die, Shrek. I'm looking down, like all that. It's just so funny, man.
You're a girl dragon.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that these are the seeds that are being sown for the relationship of Donkey and the dragon character, right? This is the first time they meet. This is the first time he's sweet talking her, trying to coax
Use
her.
him.
Yeah, exactly.
Wooing
And
her.
and then the whole mystique of her hiding her identity of being an ogre, and then when Donkey actually finds out, like it's just it brings the story to a different tone, kind of a serious tone, but it kind of gives it it gives this other ooh factor to it, like on top of everything. But I also, before you find out about that, just them, Fiona and Shrek, you know, we're going on our fifth movie here in a few years, right? We're at four, they got four Shreks. So to see this relationship between the two characters, you're seeing the first time that these two characters are bonding, right? And I like that part as well. When they're blowing up the animals as balloons, like always they kind of freaked me out as a kid, but it's just funny because and you don't think about it like, oh, she's an ogre because you haven't found that out yet, but then you find out later and like, oh well, that's why she's doing all these things. She's eating rats, she's doing all this stuff. That's why they're hitting it off so well. Like, oh, I found myself an ogre babe.
The frog literally looked like a fat Gungan from Star Wars.
Yeah, I did kind of. Misa, float away.
Instead of a sugar daddy, is a swamp daddy. I found me a swamp daddy.
So dead.
Swamp daddy.
Be gone with him.
Oh man, combat general. One
All right.
of the scenes I'm shocked you guys haven't brought up is the gingerbread torture scene.
The
That
gingerbread
scene,
torture scene's good. Well, dude, all the Farquaad scenes are like the one where he's making the mirror playback over and then
Fiona's
I don't know
picture.
if do you pay attention to the still of
Yeah,
him where
he's like,
the blanket rises a little bit?
yeah, he's like,
Yeah, dude. Or the part where he's like, "Well, you're not a king," and he's like felonious, and then he punches the mirror.
Yeah.
He's like, "You were
yeah,
saying?" He's like, "You're not a
Yeah.
king yet."
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was by far one of my favorite scenes. I love the gingerbread scene. That made me laugh so hard.
Yeah,
Was the
you're a monster.
yeah, he goes,
You got
the, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin, the Muffin Man. So it's just funny to watch him, and then you have that in the bachelorette or bachelorette number one is
Yeah, yeah.
is part of a mentally abused home. You know, you have bachelorette number two is she's asleep. She lives with seven men, but she ain't easy. It's just like, it's like and then bachelorette number three, and then 2, 3, my lord.
Number three, my lord.
pick one, pick one.
But yeah, it just made me laugh so hard through that whole scene because again, that's that moment where you, as an adult, can know that and go, "Oh, that's actually pretty funny. I can sit here and enjoy a kids movie
Mm.
that's it's it's meant for kids in some ways, but it has adult humor that you can understand."
All
And
of his scene is great. Like when he came to rescue Fiona, he looked like his legs.
yeah. Or like even like when Donkey and him have their falling out, and then Donkey goes back to the swamp and tries to tell him like, well, I own half this swamp now because I went on this adventure with you too. And when he tells him don't be nobody likes a kiss ass, that made me laugh so hard how they snuck that in so quickly. That scene, I enjoy Fiona's trying to get herself ready for, true love's kiss, and and then when Shrek comes up to go, she puckers her lips out and he just shakes her. It's like wake up. Those scenes I enjoyed. That's why I said that the meaning behind or the when he's throwing Donkey up in the air when he's trying to tell him like, oh, when they say, does anybody object? You go in there and you say, I object. And he goes, when does that supposed to take place? I don't know. It's just those moments just make you laugh. Like I love when they're bringing all the fairy tales when you find out that people are getting money for turning in fairy tale creatures and people.
Mhm.
The thing that pissed me off is why is Peter Pan turning in Tinkerbell? Because isn't Peter Pan fairy tale too? Like I can understand Geppetto turning in Pinocchio,
Yeah.
but it's like Peter Pan, you're kind of a fairy tale too, there, buddy. Like, what's wrong here? Or like the Three Little Pigs. They huffed and they puffed and they gave us an eviction notice.
They offered me fuck, yeah.
They
They
huffed
signed an eviction notice. Yeah. You
That's
got
what I
that
said.
German accent.
That the blind mice scene, that whole scene when they all come to the swamp, it would just made me laugh so
Yeah.
hard because it was just
I
all
like the wolf. What?
what.
The blind mice. No cheese. That's cheese.
That's why I said the scenes in this movie just it makes you laugh. I wanted to see if you guys pay attention to this. So, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and Little Bear, right? We're all there.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
That's the Goldilocks, story. Did you know? Did you see the mom skinned on Fort or
I
Farquaad's
did.
floor?
Yes.
So literally the scene where when they're all at Shrek swamp, you only see the dad and the son. You don't see the mom anyway.
Mm-mm.
And literally the scene where Pat was saying when he lifted up the blanket and he's like, "Oh," that scene when they're going in, you see her like a bare skinned rug with the pink bow, and you know it.
On the
Um,
bed, and it's the mom.
Yeah.
that's pretty sad. And
But fuck yeah, it's sad time. It's fucking morbid, is what it is.
I think this is what sets from Disney and Pixar. You know, Pixar was like,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
Oh,
that
you mean
direction.
yeah.
And you know,
Pixar
or
ain't doing that shit. Oh, like, yeah. Oh,
DreamWorks. DreamWorks. I was like, not Pixar. Pixar is owned by Disney. What are you talking about?
F Disney. Let me watch my shit for free on Disney Plus.
Give me a free plan, please.
yeah. You don't see that in Toy Story. They're like, oh yeah, we're gonna skin Andy's mom alive, and like, yeah,
Mom,
You know that bomb that goes off in the air? Yeah, Buzz is there and he blows up. What?
yeah, in pieces. Yeah.
why'd you call you? Why they call you Buzz? Imagine it went that direction. Like,
Well, you kind of got that humor with like Mr. Potato Head because he was the only one that could get that way. But that's Don Rickles for you. Don Rickles is going to be that sarcastic dude you need in the movie. And that's why I said, like, this movie just, they're like, to be totally honest, going into the dislikes of the film, I really don't have it. Like, watching the movie again from the aspect of it all, like, the only thing I would say is I kind of felt like sometimes it might have been quick. Like after you get that scene where he rescues Fiona and stuff, it kind of like their travels was kind of quick. It's like, you know, Ty and I, we've talked about that like with Catwoman and Batman, right? In that first couple episodes we did. The fact being that their relationship went too fast.
yeah,
That's kind of how I felt with Shrek and Fiona. It's like we get those parts that you can see they have feelings for each other, but it kind of just felt like I wanted to see Shrek still be an onion where he still has to be peeled a little bit, where he's still learning to do that. But again, that's a small gripe. It that doesn't change how good the movie is. I really don't have other scenes that I disliked in the film.
that's what I'm saying. It's a movie you can't hate.
What about you, Pat? Were there things that you disliked in the film?
The only thing I'm not a big fan of, and I'm not the biggest fan of Cameron Diaz to begin with.
Me
And
and
I
you,
feel like
we've
they
talked.
could have probably put anybody in that role. There's very few things I think Cameron Diaz is good in, like Charlie's Angels.
I know
I
you're
think
gonna say that.
Yeah,
Charlie's Angels.
you
she's
you would put
perfect for
that
that.
over Any Given Sunday? I actually
Well, I
didn't
was
mind.
just gonna say that and Any Given Sunday are like her very few roles that I enjoy her in.
See,
I just yeah, like you could have put you could I don't know. Yeah. That's an easily replaceable role. It's just like her role in Gangs of New York. It's like you could have had there were so many other women you could probably had taken that role and she got picked. So it's like I don't know. At the end
You,
of the day, it seems like I'm looking for something to dislike about it, which it seems like I am.
you
Uh,
are. If she
I
wasn't well, we wouldn't get that burp scene. You know.
like we wouldn't get the burp
but
scene.
but to be
Nobody
totally
else can burp.
Cameron Diaz to me didn't bug me in this role. I think it's because too I think her story kind of fits the role because I do feel like, and I hate to say this out loud, but I'm going to say it, I always felt like Cameron Diaz was an actress that she thought she was better than she was.
Yes.
And I feel like with Fiona, that's a perfect example of it. Fiona has thought about all this, but now she's being put back into reality. And I think that's why I love about this film was her more because of the fact being that true love will take its form. And in reality, that's why she didn't turn back into human after falling in love with Shrek, because that's her true form. That's true love's form. And it's really good. I that was probably the only other thing I didn't like is that sometimes I didn't like how Fiona was animated as a human compared to when she was an ogre.
Yeah.
I feel like they put more work into her being an ogre than it was her being a human. Like I feel like sometimes just her facial expression kind of is off. But again, it's small gripe compared to
Yeah.
everything else.
You almost
But
forget what she looked like human form wise, because it's like they only really show it in the first one, right? Or do they
yeah,
show? Yeah.
yeah, because in the rest of one, even the ones where he has Rumpelstiltskin kind of change history, she's still an ogre.
I think it's weird when they show Shrek as an actual human. Like that's weird.
Yeah, that was weird in the second one.
The
That was the
second one.
first thing I want to say I loved was the scene where he like Ty was saying like when Shrek find or he overhears Fiona's and Donkey's conversation, and so he goes gets Lord Farquaad and his men to come
Yeah.
get her. That scene where he gets off the horse, they had to literally have somebody come pick him up and put him down on the ground. That made me laugh too. That's why I said just the scene, everybody fit their scene so well, their roles so well. But before we go into the trivia questions, what's in this like the main conversation with our rankings? Ty, where would you rank it on a scale of 1 ogres to 10 ogres?
10.
10. Okay.
10 means good, right?
Yeah, 10 means good. I hope it does. Pat, what
Well,
about you?
sometimes when I go to the doctors, they're like, go paying from 1 to 10. I'm just like, which one is the bad one?
You know what? I'm going 1.
What?
All right, Pat, what about you from 1 to 10 ogres?
I'm gonna go. I think this is probably going to be the highest ranking I've done so far for when we're doing these movie discussions. I'm gonna go with 9.5.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's it. You're close to Tombstone's ranking for you, but you have
yeah, I don't think it's a perfect 10. There's definitely some minor flaws, and I think it really just comes down to the time of when that really I feel like that subject varies when it comes to the progress of how the progression of animation over the years and the graphics. Obviously it looks a lot clearer now. Back then, we're in 2025 now. This movie was filmed, this movie was made almost 25 years ago. So animation's come a long way. And I think that's probably what I'm maybe basing it off of. Obviously, you could tell like some of the background characters look a little off, or just, it was this movie alone though was so before its time and so innovative, and it has so many iconic and relatable characters in it, and I think that's what makes it so great, man. Yeah, actors and actresses behind the voices that really make these characters come to life. You get invested in these characters and you just fall in love with them, and that's why I'm giving it 9.5.
okay. Like I agree. I'm on the same level, and I think this is one of my higher ratings as well. I'd probably give it like a 9.2. Like it's good. It still has its issues, but I agree with you with everything you guys have said. I think the thing is, like we said, that movie was made 25 years ago, and how far animations, like you said, Pat, how far animation has come since then. This movie still holds up. Like
Oh
this
yeah.
movie is so well done. The humor in it, I never felt like I wasn't entertained throughout the film. I felt really entertained now knowing the adult jokes and the references they have, the dirty joke, or not the dirty jokes, but like the dark humor they have throughout. Like it just wasn't made for kids. And I think that's what makes it so talent or such a great movie is the fact being that they didn't only just take into consideration kids watching this, they took into consideration adults. And I think that's what makes it even better. So, how we're going to end this out? We're going to have Ty and Pat go head to head in a trivia showdown.
Oh no.
I got 5 questions for you. Four of them based off the movie, and one of them outside it with Shrek. But we're going to see how this goes. I got some easy ones and I got some hard ones for you, okay? Question number 1.
Yes.
C. C's always the answer. All right, here. Okay. According to Shrek, why are ogres like onions?
If they have layers.
Yeah, because they have layers.
Okay. Okay. Ty gets the point there, though. Ty got it.
What is this?
I'll give you guys one and one.
Family
Okay?
Feud?
You guys get one
What?
point apiece. Okay.
I don't know. I
Oh
don't
no. No, no, no.
know.
What time does Princess Fiona turn into an ogre?
12.
No,
Midnight.
there's a specific time of the day that not like an exact time, like not like 5 o'clock.
Oh, at dusk when the sun goes down.
Like
When the
6 or 7.
sun
Like,
goes down,
Pretty much
shake
sunset.
ogre when the sun goes down.
man,
Copyright.
it'd be weird to see the moon. You're like, not yet.
No.
No.
It's like a werewolf. It's not a full moon. I
Dang
got the day wrong.
He's
it,
like,
the blue moon.
fuck, I can't howl right now. Why can't I do that?
Uh, almost 30 more seconds.
You
Almost.
imagine her still being human at this point when she has kids? Like, Mom, why are you turning back into human? Oh, it's my sunset.
It's my son.
Yeah, the curse reversed on me.
It's dark, but it's not. I'm not changing. Oh, daylight saving. Duh.
Hold on, honey, I got 30 seconds till howl time.
Oh, great. I got an extra hour now to be human.
And then you turn all of a sudden, damn.
Oh, this is my human dress. No.
All right, here's your next one. You guys ready? When Lord Farquaad is looking at his brides to be, before he chooses Princess Fiona, there's two other princesses. Who are the other two princesses?
No way.
Cinderella, Snow White.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
came to play. I came
He,
to
he cut me off, so I couldn't finish the second one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
really
Slap him
beat that
across
guy.
the scrap. Slap him across the screen, Ty. There you go. Um, when Geppetto
Like,
is
oh,
selling Pinocchio, what does the guard call Pinocchio?
A talking boy. Or,
No,
talking free, talking doll.
no, he actually says a specific thing, and it's probably one of the funniest lines I've ever heard of Pinocchio.
possessed toy.
There you go.
Yeah, I'll give you 5 shillings for the possessed toy. Yeah,
For the
that's
possessed toy made me laugh so hard because he's like, I swear I'm a real boy, and he turned his nose grows. 5 shillings for the possessed toy. Next.
like I have a talking donkey. He's like, well, that's worth 10 shillings if you can prove it. I can talk. I love to talk.
Talking is my favorite thing. And the last question, we kind of talked about it. This will be kind of an easier but harder question. Shrek has become so popular. There's been a lot of sequels and a lot of
Mhm.
spin-offs. How many in total are there, excluding the one that has not yet released?
So you're talking about Shrek movies
So
and
the sequels and the spin. How many are there in the Shrek, pretty much the Shrek franchise?
I think 8.
I think 7. I know Puss in Boots.
Try less than what you guys are saying.
6.
Then 5 right now because I can only remember Puss in Boots.
Ty gets the point. Shrek 2, Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After, Puss in Boots, and Puss in Boots The Last Wish. And 6, and then 5's coming out in the next couple years.
Eat that, Patrick. Mm.
Well, darn.
Well, darn.
I'm glad that didn't ask a hard question. How many layers in the onion, huh?
You want me to tell you one I almost did? Because there is actually an exact number. How many fairy tale characters showed up on?
I knew it. See, I told you he was gonna say something.
But
Some
I did
statistical
look it up.
bullshit.
It was an exact number, and it was near 600 characters were on that scene.
You think I'm gonna count that many on the screen?
He'd be like, how many of the married men are there? Or the oh married man.
If there's 600 fairy tales, how many fingers are there in it altogether? You gotta
How many
count them
people showed up in the church
the
that
world.
day?
They'll make it into a word problem. Like, if Fiona eats 4 fingers, how many fingers are left?
Shrek eats 5 eyeballs and he got earwax in his ears for a cat.
Yeah.
How long will it last for?
That's so bad.
Oh,
That's so
poor
bad.
he's poor thing.
How many knights are there in the film? No. But no, I think this is a great way to end the podcast. We want to thank Ty for coming on to the podcast. You can find Ty and myself. We talk all things anime and all things DCAU. If you guys don't know what the DCAU is, that's your Batman the animated series, Justice League animated series, Superman animated series. We cover episode or arc each week. We do it every Friday. So go check that out. Subscribe to Comic Talkers. And without further ado, Patty B, take us out.
Yeah, thank you guys for everything. This was fun. Thank you, Ty, as always. This was a fun little topic. I love Shrek, love the franchise. But you guys just remember, we do it just for flicks.